Thank you for landing on the audiobook for my poetry collection, The Elegy of an Erupting Spirit. Just a few thoughts before we begin. One of the reasons I decided to post the audiobook on YouTube is firstly because I wanted it to be free, but also because I wanted some creative freedom with it, something that I couldn't have done on Audible, for instance. I combined my poetry with music, background art, photography, or even some extra reflection and thoughts. If you do enjoy the book, or perhaps just in general what I do, I have created a little donation page where you could go and potentially buy me a coffee or two, or in the case you really love what I do, you could even support me on a monthly basis. That would be obviously very highly appreciated. So, I'm very happy that you're here. I'm so excited to begin, and I really do hope that you will enjoy listening to this book. So, without further ado, this is The Elegy of an Erupting Spirit, an immersive collection of poetry and raw emotion, by Damian. The deeper the sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Before we turn the page, my dear listener, thank you so much for devoting some of your precious time breathing in the thoughts and emotions I managed to express through the pages you're about to delve into. If I were to briefly summarize what follows, I would say that this is a book about becoming. A wounded spirit reforging itself through the means of emotional discovery and spiritual emancipation. A solitary heart erupting, striving to reach its highest dimension of understanding by harnessing the raw and visceral power of poetic expression. My name is Paul Răzvan Petrișor, but you might know me as Paul Damian, the name coming from my mother's side of the family. I was born in a small industrial Romanian town in the 1990s, in a world suffering from the recent collapse of the Soviet Union. That environment played a significant role in shaping the man I grew up into. But even more crucial in this journey of becoming was my relationship with the world within. I was an aching, yet happy kid who has turned into a lost young man. Not because of some violent tendencies or an inability to relate to my surroundings, but because I was helpless in understanding my own essence. I carried the weight of a mind that often turned against itself because of health struggles that need not be detailed, but that have shaped much of what was yet to come. It was often a battleground I didn't know how to navigate, and because of that, I spent the vast majority of my life not knowing how to deal with my thoughts and emotions, not knowing how to deal with myself. In my later years, writing offered me a portal to understanding. Many of my poems are just that, a way for me to process this inner life that oftentimes we have no words to describe or that we deliberately try to silence. I don't categorize myself as a specific type of poet, and I don't feel I have a distinct poetic style. Perhaps I will develop one in time. And although stylized and sometimes polished in poetic form, much of what I write remains raw and true to my state of being in the moment the writing occurred. These pages hold the vexations of a wandering soul. They're an exploration into an unknown, untamed inner world, filled with love, loss, healing, and hope. If you find anything here that speaks to you, anything that might help you along your own path, then all my effort was not in vain. With great affection, Paul Damian. Poetic Context. I will offer some context before the first poem, something I'll perhaps do a handful of times across this book, which, from a certain perspective, I find very amusing. A lot of us have experienced those poetry study sessions in elementary and high school when teachers rigidly explained the poet's intentions and spent days dissecating symbolism, meaning, and every technique in the author's arsenal. I was always so frustrated, and whenever I questioned their explanations, I was met with a verbal backhand. It felt like an exact science. Nothing was up for debate, as if our teacher was somehow in the room with the author at the poem's inception, absorbing every detail that went through the artist's mind, taking notes, and observing every single breath and movement. Nonsense, I believed. Poetry, or art in general, should be open to debate, shaped by the eye of the beholder. It's part of its very quintessence. Of course, reason needs to be applied. Ideally, your interpretation won't plunge you into the realm of absurdity, but our worldview and personal touch are crucial when digesting poetry. In many cases, the intended meaning doesn't even matter as long as the substance is understood. One thing is clear though. My 7th grade teacher definitely didn't know what was truly going on inside Shakespeare's mind and heart, or what inspired his creations. In my view, whenever something comes from nothing, it comes from a divine place. And sometimes, that's all I need to know. However, when I went through this dilemma, I thought it would be amazing if, alongside each poem, the author gave their readers a peek into what was going on inside their mind. It would have made our lives so much easier back then. And it makes the child in me so happy to offer you a little glimpse into what was going on inside of my own mind and heart when I was writing some of these pieces. This was the second poem I'd ever written, and the first in English. The very first one, the spark that started everything, was, of course, a poem of heartbreak. You'll hear it later in this audiobook. Wings of Hope, however, was born during a period of massive change. I was about to embark on the journey of a lifetime, a motorcycle ride from my hometown of Cluj-Napoca in Romania to London, United Kingdom. I'd just been accepted into acting school after a successful audition, so I left everything behind to chase my dream. That dream is still very much alive today, but Wings of Hope was my first step. Through all the highs and lows, the wins and the losses, it's what brought me here, an almost 30-year-old soul who, I believe, is wiser than the one who rode off all those miles ago. And really, isn't that the highest ideal a human can strive for? Wings of Hope. What is more delightful than yet another new beginning? A never-ending, colorful blossom in life's grandiose, cinematic screening. Be addicted to fresh starts, and everything that they imply. Obsessed by the feeling of resurrection, the eternal rest left standing by. White wings spawn violently out of your shoulder blades, covering scars from previous escapades. A brief moment of hope devours every boundary that your mind can muster. Cradle that feeling. Close your wings, and you just might land on a greener pasture. The most beautiful of views can be found in the fading echoes of the memories that were made there. Celestial soul, take me away to where it all began, to that corner of heaven where the grass is tender and the hills are arched. From a faraway distance, the bright city lights are glaring with shine, while the frigid forest awakens to existence, enduring revival from the opposite side. Take me there and hold me close. Make me forget about all that is false. Kiss me with exuberating affection. Liberate me from this cruel state of objection. Rest your head upon my chest. Sing me a song about an alpine flower, and I will take you up inside a golden tower that surveils these lands of grain and wheat. An abundance of memories, yet not remotely enough. Take my pain away, you celestial soul, for a brief, isolated moment in time. You have made this fool boundlessly whole. I believe that anger is not the solution for your heart's achings, but like with every emotion, if it arises, do not suppress it. Let it burn, just enough to tear away the veils covering the light that your eyes need for clarity. Peaceful rage. This rage that I'm feeling is unique. I've been angry before, but not in this way. I'm not eager to speak. I'm not feeling weak. I'm experiencing a calm, contemplative rage. I've had enough. My heart has turned gray. My fury is not fearful. It's not one that streams out of petty bouts or from distracting doubts. I am feeling cheerful. This wrath reflects on the past. It shapes a way towards a future so vast that keeps me focused and grounded into the present day. I'm no longer feeling like prey. One more time, heading into the fray. It's silent, meticulous, sudden, and healthy. It's an instinct that I would usually suppress. I should ignore reason. I shall not regress. Because sometimes You just need to pursue what you're feeling. Embracing this aura, I am reaching my hands towards the ceiling. Yet another stop in my never-ending journey to healing. In the age of social media, our minds have grown numb and tired, like oversaturated sponges that can no longer absorb a single drop. We are flooded by endless streams of hollowness that do nothing more than bounce off us, and yet somehow we remain trapped beneath their overpowering pressure. In this era, where the shallowness of our souls is monetized and the absence of depth rewarded, I urge you, my dear listener, to push against this tide. Pause. Think. Breathe in until your lungs are full. Admire every shade, every color. Let yourself be fully immersed in whatever you allow to enter into your one brief, magnificent life. On escapism. I don't want escapism. That is a term often used by many people. The desire to escape your reality, especially when it comes to cinematography, theater, or even games. People usually say, I just want to be entertained and forget about my life for a bit. While that certainly has its place from time to time, regrettably, it has become the norm. I think great art doesn't make you want to escape your reality. Rather, it enriches your life, helps you understand it better, compels you to try to decode its meaning, and drives you to discover layers that were previously hidden. I don't want to be entertained. I want to be mesmerized and fully encapsulated by the beauty and meaning of what I'm experiencing. I think that's what we should aspire to, not to escape, but to face reality and be fully immersed in life. Alone. You know, I've always been alone. But I'm not upset about it as you might think. Because it can be helped. So it shouldn't be mourned. That is my circumstance. I am incurably diseased by a permanent state of aloneness. It is as perennial as the stars and the grass and the dirt. For me, there is no other way of being. It's neither bad nor good. It just is. There is no remedy, nor do I try to find it. Not anymore. We are born alone, and alone we return to the aphotic zone. If chance would have it, someone else might share their light with you. And if it should happen, cherish it while it lasts, even if just for a little while. After a lifetime of it, I don't perceive it as much. I was molded by it, shaped by its all-encompassing shadow. And even though I've tried, and at times I was pulled outside of its sharp claws, I'm always dragged back inside its lukewarm embrace. People have tried. But no one can take this away from me. It is my biggest possession, an invaluable treasure, a relief for the illness of not belonging. I covered myself in you, so I can remember your betrayal. I wrote this quite a long time ago, when I had very few people that were familiar with my work, but for whom I was so grateful and happy. I was as astonished by the love I have received back then, just as much as I am now. The words expressed in the next poem are a manifestation of how much that support helped me in the most difficult of times. I started sharing my readings online about 4 years ago, and for the vast majority of this period, my audience was minuscule compared to what it became since. But I always believed that as long as my poetry renditions make me happy and creative, and as long as I can touch a single soul in a positive way, that it's all worth it. Every single person who finds what I do helpful or beautiful in any way whatsoever is an indescribable blessing. A poem about you. Sometimes, on emotionally torrid evenings, I lean back in my desk chair, head in hands, feeling weighted down by the dark, gloomy shadow that has hovered over my day, casting melancholy, prompting questions about all I have or haven't done. My thoughts become a source of anguish, and my only comfort is to release them onto a blank piece of paper. Or, in other cases, if there's no reflection worth saving, I entrust myself to the never-ending collection of written art that encapsulates our world's poetic library. I open my heart and share my thoughts. I share my fascination, my findings. I share it with the idea of you. I expect my message to wither away into the void I've cast it into, never to be heard by anyone, expecting it to die a silent death, devoid of any human connection. However, to my astonishment, these words were not falling endlessly, but rather lifted by a glimmer of light, extending its warm embrace up from the dark. It was the love of a graceful spirit that reached out with comforting arms to hold my head and caress my soul. It has turned darkness into light, anguish into happiness, and bitterness into love. It has entrusted me with its never-ending blossoming heart. It has allowed me to enter its divine nature through the message I am trying to send. It has lifted me from the ashes, provided me with confidence, enormous passion, and an indescribable, invaluable sentiment that makes me believe my purpose is meaningful and that I'm following the right path. That is beyond beauty, beyond love. It goes further than that. It is a feeling I have yet to fully comprehend. On the same sentiment as the previous page, I wanted to integrate within this book some of the beautiful poems belonging to the people without whom this project might have never happened. Not long before the publication, I initiated a little call to poetry, as I called it, towards my online community. And the response was something greater than I could have ever imagined. Hundreds upon hundreds of immensely talented people have shared their work, shared a bit of themselves. I'm so honored and privileged to be able to showcase in this book just a little bit of all that beauty. I wished I could have selected way more than what you will find here, because all of that poetry is surely worthy of a book in and of itself. Scattered throughout the book, you will find poems belonging to some of the beautiful souls who chose to share a little part of themselves with us. Poem for All Who Bleed on Paper by Nicole Sideri. I found home in a place where I could be me. Among old books and stories, I am free. Endless shelves of voices past, whispers of stories meant to last. Heart full, lost in a hush of library aisles, wishing to write my own in time. Fingers trace the dust-stained spines, wondering if my words will shine. To be the reason someone writes, spilling my soul on paper at night. Candlelight, ink, and silent grief. Pain, the cleverest of thieves. I only write when my soul bleeds, aching to plant my words like seeds, to linger in hearts, to never cease, yet longing never finds its peace. Here's to all who bleed on pages. Will live forever in the eyes of strangers. This is a confession I left in someone else's bed. I told them everything was fine and offered a kiss, just to break the uncomfortable rhythm of the night's eviscerating silence, not wanting to answer any of its intrusive questions. A dying light carries the shadow of a controlled smile, faintly visible, but forever trapped in the bleakness of those old rusty walls. What an acting performance. The sheets are stained by the tears of ghosts. Lost, no longer truly there, confronted by reality, unwilling but somehow ready to move beyond. But who knows? Maybe we don't ever truly get lost. Maybe we just outgrow those little parts of ourselves we once found shelter in and need to find a new home. If anyone reading this finds themselves in the situation described in the following poem, take it from someone who's been in your shoes. Your time will eventually come, but it is not for you to determine when. It is up to the unseen. It was gifted to you by a power no human mind can possibly understand. No matter how dire the battles within you, this is your only chance at life. Your only chance to look up at the clear sky and be mesmerized by infinity. Your only chance to dig yourself back from the depths you find yourself in. The time for you to return back among the stars that we are too often deprived of witnessing because of our modern way of living will arrive sooner than you expect. Until then, my dear listener, bathe yourself in the warm spring of life. I smiled at death. I smiled at death, but she did not smile back at me. I said, grab my hand and steal my breath, and take me back into infinity. A river of silent sorrow flows gently through my veins. There is a perpetual sadness in my eyes, and even though I'm striving to be wise, I can't make it go away. Release me from this temporal shape. Gift me the present of eternal rest. Caress me under the dark silence of your cape. Satiate me with the comforting cure stemming from your breast. No, child. Your purpose in life is not yet complete. There is more for you to do. You shall not conceit. You will laugh with ecstasy when you finally comprehend. Until then, become a bright source of light that the universe will assimilate. The eclipse will arrive terribly soon. Embrace the warmth of the sun and admire the moon. Be patient, for now the sand in your glass will continue to flow. Before long, there will be nowhere to hide and nowhere to go. But do not worry. Once the sandglass has been turned, yet another ethereal adventure will begin. Your notion of time will be stretched unfathomably thin, and your peace will undoubtedly be earned. Numb is the third poem I ever wrote, and, as the verses will make clear, it stems from a broken heart and a difficult process of grief. But let me assure you, my dear listener, the pain will eventually fly away on the wings of time. The solitude nesting inside your fragile soul is not only natural, but necessary. Only in silence can you truly hear the gentle cries of your past, calling you to reflect deeply. Take comfort in this. If your love was pure and worth the suffering, it will never leave you. It will always be part of who you are, and I wouldn't have it any other way, regardless of how hard it may be. Numb. The heart, a muscle, expands with love's embrace. Yet, when love's light exhausts, it shrinks in cold dismay. The repetition of this cycle takes a heavy toll. Numbness creeps into your warm and hopeful soul. A devious indifference takes the place of what would have been unbearable pain, because it got washed into non-existence by a somber autumn rain. Why feel again, when numbness brings solace and peace? Allow me to find release in this scorched flesh, as it's caressed by a gentle, icy breeze. As I write these lines, I truly sit and ponder. Is it me who speaks such words, or just the heart, lost in eternal wonder? I'm not usually one for graphic language, but poetic expression is a direct reflection of the writer's inner rhythm at the moment of creation. Art shouldn't be censored in any way. And while I don't have the raw grit of someone like Bukowski, though I absolutely love him, when you need to say fuck, then by all fucking means, say fuck. If my 30s and 40s continue the arc of my 20s, I'll be weaving that beautiful word and many others of its siblings far more often. Feeble. My teenage years were an amalgam of confusion, fear, and insecurity, filled with doubts and so much uncertainty, based on things that, in hindsight, I couldn't have controlled. I was feeble, frail, fearful, carved up in a million little pieces until my self-worth became non-existent. There was a perpetual need to fix myself, but I didn't know why. Everyone was right, and I was wrong. I could never find something I was proud of, something I could value in myself. I felt unguided, undeserving, uninteresting. You could find me on a fragile wooden raft, taken downstream by an unforgiving current. The raft eventually plunged over a ravenous waterfall and carried me into my 20s. Pitch black darkness waited beneath the unrelenting water, stranding me, stealing every spark of hope. That solitude was accompanied only by the endless screams of an untamed soul, desperately seeking. What exactly? I didn't know. It was an inner chaos that eventually made me stop feeling, stop wanting. And worst of all, I stopped searching. Those years were a descent into nothingness. I'm barreling toward my 30s, but unlike most, I'm not afraid. I'll celebrate it like no other birthday before. I'll celebrate getting old. I can't wait for my hair to turn to ash. I'll celebrate the future and the present, and burn the past into a blistering pile of fucking garbage. I'm 28 as I write this, but my age doesn't feel right. I feel 28 in dog years. Divergent. We are divergent planets, orbiting a common star. But we are connected to one another by floating particles of blood. Each of our gravities shields the others from frequent meteorite showers. Your mere existence is sufficient to keep me safe from such a brutal fate. For now, I remain in my integral state. On my own, I would be deficient. I need to hear nothing. I need to see nothing. I need to be left alone in my own orbit so I can peacefully cultivate my own Garden of Eden and offer back life. I need nothing. The sparse sight of you on uncommon crystal nights is enough to elevate my spirit to unnatural heights. It provides comfort. You have nothing to offer me outside of that, and I have nothing to offer you in return. I look at you from a distance, and when a ray of sunshine reaches me, I'm happy because I know it will also reach you eventually. That is all that I need. I am content. An important lesson that has seen me power through some of life's hardest moments is this: things inevitably improve. My mind will calm, and I will find resolve. There really is no other option. A wise person treats their scars as reminders of hard-fought battles that guide them toward better choices. The hurt will come regardless, so we might as well welcome it with a warm embrace. Scars. Past mistakes are trophies in my cabinet of scars. I carry them proudly. Their burden ignited my damaged spirit. I am ablaze. I once felt flooded by their screams. Now they are voiceless. My will holds them hostage. A foe turned friend, choiceless. They were a boulder I had to push up a never-ending hill. I was a king punished by the gods, yet I am foreign to my sins. Past mistakes are trophies in my cabinet of scars. Tormented, my soul resided in a dark purgatory. The light evaded me, ignoring my cries. My heart was obliged to metamorphosize. Now, it blossoms in a realm of humid gloom. Its roots dig deep. It grows, it thrives, and once again it dreams of one day witnessing the beauty of the moon. The following is a satirical poem, of course, as you will see. And what I'd like to say here isn't entirely related, but I think it's worth mentioning in this context. These words partially stem from my own insecurities on how I was perceived by women. I've occupied both extremes of the quote-unquote attractiveness spectrum, and it was interesting to observe why that shift happened. I could probably write a whole lot about it, and I'm sure it applies to most people. What I will briefly say here, though, is that both your inner and outer beauty can absolutely be nurtured. There are, of course, innate attributes outside of your control, but in the vast majority of cases, your actions and how you treat yourself make all the difference. The way you perceive yourself first becomes a mirror for how others perceive you. In my case, my self-image was, for the longest time, far from flattering, to say the very least. And always remember, there is nothing more attractive than a healthy, confident attitude, a passion you could discuss for days uninterrupted, and a dream you're willing to pursue with everything you've got. Not a woman tamer. I've never been able to understand women. I'm no good at taming them. They've always been the ones to tame me, dazzling my mind with their ferocity. They're a puzzle I still can't solve. I'm unsure of myself. I might read a study from my bookshelf. I need to find a resolve. I want you. I want you not. I need you. I need you not. I love you. I love you not. What am I to make of this ambiguity? Am I to be subjected to this in perpetuity? An indifferent state might be the best mind frame to be in. But how can you love fully if you must commit that sin? I think I'd rather be hurt. Won't you agree? At least it'll inspire me to write more poetry. Life and death. I feel that I died a long time ago, and everything I live now is merely supplementary. For a while, that is what I believed. I felt my existence was not only short and ephemeral, but completely devoid of any cohesive substance. It felt empty, dark. Your eyes cannot perceive light if you don't allow them to. A soul cannot blossom with its innate radiance extinguished. And if your spirit is captive in a coffin made of flesh, what does living even mean? There was a time I felt my life was no brighter than a shadow during a lunar eclipse. I felt already buried in the amnesia of time. For what is life without purpose? I felt that I died a long time ago. For what right do I have to be alive if my odyssey ended before it even started, and my footprints were immediately buried in the dirt? I felt my life was taken away. For how can you be alive if you cannot live with yourself, if you cannot be at peace? How can you live if you are blind to the truth and to the delicate symmetry that encapsulates our world? The beauty of this fleeting glimpse of a life we are so unaware of. I've learned, however, that meaning can always be found, regardless of what somber catacombs you find yourself in. Your footprints might be buried in time, but their traces will always be embedded within the deeper layers of this home that we all share. I've learned that I have to be still, because to a mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. A quiet mind is the catalyst for a peaceful life. The art of letting go. Quiet the mind. Open your heart. Remove everything that is unnecessary. The delusions, the fabricated lies that silently boil within and smolder your beautiful, innate spirit. Quiet the mind. Open your heart. That means erasing the board, wiping away all the white noise with a damp sponge if you have to, reminiscent of your childhood. The hard part is deciding, actually deciding. Letting go of the fear of losing yourself. You won't. Instead, you will welcome back a certain person, someone you thought dead or didn't even know existed. The real you, the spirit behind all the noise, the one who doesn't speak but overhears and hearkens. Quiet the mind. open your heart, watch, listen, feel, witness, be. Practice the art of letting go, perpetually if needed. You'll have nothing to lose and a whole universe to gain. Personally, I hope I remember this in the morning. Usually that's the hardest part. I hope you'll forgive me for sharing little parts of my letters to you. But I consider this book an extension of myself and all I've been through. You're a part of me that will burn forever. Without you, this book would never have come to be. Without you, I wouldn't be a poet. You are a lifetime of inspiration and of crimson love. I can't witness you anymore, but at the very least I can share some memories of you with the world. Forgive me and release me from your hurt, my eternal one. Part of a letter. Thank you for your letter. I beg 1,000 pardons to your wounded heart, and my own aching soul feels an urgent need to answer it. I promise I will keep this as brief as I can. Your letter laid me bare. I smiled, I laughed, I sighed, I remembered. I daydreamed, and then I wept uncontrollably, more than I ever recall. I continue to cry as I write this. I feel shattered into 1,000 pieces. I do not forgive you, because you have done nothing wrong. There is nothing to forgive. A person who follows their heart needs no forgiveness, and that is exactly what you did. Yes, I am inexplicably wounded, but I have no reproach towards you, and I never will. You are perfect as you are, and your decisions are an integral part of you. If the choice you made leads you to a truer happiness and love, no one will be more joyful for you than I. When you truly love someone, you let them go and find joy in their happiness, even despite your own sorrow. I believe that was the saying. It's the first time I've experienced this, and I feel it with such force and passion. I no longer care that you can't love or desire me. All I want is for you to be happy. Nothing more. And truly I am happy, because I had the privilege of being an all too brief chapter in your life. A chapter with a heartbreaking end. But any good play or work of art has an heartbreaking end, doesn't it? Desideratum. What do I want? This is the first time I'm realistically contemplating this, and I find it disturbingly difficult to answer what seems to be such a facile query. The question of what do I want is a rarity in my vocabulary. However, I will seek an answer. What exactly do I want out of this life? I still don't have a final response yet, but here's a partial one. I want not to worry every day, but to wake up with a bright smile, eager to draw back the curtains. I want the privilege of doing what I love and letting go of soulless pursuits. I want to take care of those closest to me and support them through their struggles. I want an unbreakable romance, devoid of cracks and fragility. I want to master my craft, even if I remain an amateur in most other aspects of life. I want a clear horizon, free from stress and sudden downfalls. I also want a clear and stable mind, which will result in the purest form of creative freedom and liberty to express myself exactly how I would like. To love myself. Release from past traumas that hold me back from all of the above. Those are a lot of wants. But is it a lot to ask for? Yes. Is it too much to ask for? Absolutely not. A spark of hope, the plunge into self-loathing, and the fragile return back to light. Inquisition. I hate myself, but I love everything around me. Do I have the right to be angry? As a son, as a brother, as a lover, as a novel, as a man. Do I have the right to be upset or mad? Or should I merely quiver, tremble, and pretend that everything's okay? That I'm untouched by the forever changing manuscript of life? Stoic, regardless of the hurricanes that cut deep through my dry, fair hair? Do I have the right to stop apologizing for things I have or haven't done, for feelings I cannot control? The right to be myself, whoever that person may be, devoid of filters or hidden veils. Is he allowed to exist? Flaws and weaknesses intact? It doesn't matter how wide my wings spawn. They are cut short interminably, never broad enough. Why can't I stare at the man in the glass with a radiant smile instead of a harsh grin? My love for him is confined. I hate myself. But I love everything around me. It's okay. It really is, my fellow seeker. Treat each and every single moment of your fragile life with the delicacy and love that it truly deserves. I can't stress this enough. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the universe witnessing itself. It's okay. These are words I never thought I would ever be able to say to myself. I always felt a powerful inner conflict, a contradiction, two forces pulling in opposite directions, endlessly. Two souls embodying a single form, merciless with one another, tearing each other apart. It became normal. It was a routine for as long as I can remember. However, salvation comes when you realize that they were never adversaries to begin with. They were just confused and unable to accept each other's ambition. But there isn't one without the other, just as there is no light without darkness. And redemption begins when one of them finally tells the other, "It's okay, you fool." dream. I'm confined in this little square. Pictures on the walls, illustrating places more beautiful than this. Outside, the sun endures for a little while longer at the crown of the clouds. In spite of that, its light is as dim and weak as the shine of a fading candle with little purpose left to serve. I daydream. I dream of somewhere else. I'm sitting on a balcony overlooking a beautiful port city in an arid climate on a rainy summer evening. I watch the boats quietly navigate in and out of this little town, and I observe the tourists, the small glimpse of freedom they experience, their brief euphoria before returning to their daily slumbers. Faint music is playing from inside this little old apartment, in Portuguese, Cesaria Evora perhaps, and I'm waiting for you to bring me an espresso. You sit on my lap and join me in my quest of witnessing. I'll tell you stories of what was, stories about the struggles of men, of the bloody history of this town, and the beauty that arose from it, and then we'll sit in silence and drink and be present and listen to the sea and the boats and pelicans and faint murmurs and soft music. And after a while, I'll carry you inside and we'll create more stories that we can later keep to ourselves. Dreamscape by Ellaya Yefymova. I love those memories on the train, when thoughts slow down inside my brain and I drift off. As windows slide, the crows appear beyond the ride. They stroll like royals through the snow, the sparkling field in twilight's glow. A stage, a pause, no human sound, just birds that gracefully walk around. Because in mind I run instead through fields I've never really tread, barefoot, in dress that flows and flies, with thoughts like wings in open skies. A crater smokes beneath the trees, in morning haze, in brittle breeze. A mountain rises cold and bare, its snowy crown dissolves in air. A flake lands gently on my face. It melts. A kiss, a soft embrace. A whisper comes, or maybe steel. Two blades that clash, two fates I feel. And far away a war breaks in, my homeland pierced through frozen skin. A woman kneels with silent plea to save the one she'll never see. But then a gust pulls me once more. Thought crows are circling as before. I woke, not by the dream's own scheme, but by a whisper, soft and calm. The train conductor's quiet, Madame. Fear is the mind-blocking barrier holding you back from realizing your full potential. Be mindful of it, but listen to the calling of your heart regardless. Kerosene. I implore you, be brave, you sullied, blue-eyed fool, staring nervously back at me through the glass. Are there still chains grounding you? Why don't you break free? You hold the key, don't you? Are they offering you a vexatious comfort? Why don't you dismiss the inhibitions that still reside within? Wouldn't you rather burn them? Burn them and be brave. I speak as if there were a choice, but there is no such thing as choice. Not anymore. Open Pandora's box and release what's in your heart. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the magnificent. But don't let go of hope. Everything relies on it. Ignite the world with your inner flame, for it will provide a warmth from which other wandering souls like you can regather their strength. Rekindle what remains of that small, pale fire that faintly glows. It has gotten softer, but it is eternal. Nothing can extinguish it completely. Instead, you can enhance it, pour some kerosene on it, and set your heart ablaze. What is poetry, my dear listener? Why is it so important? And what exactly does it do for me? Perhaps it's a way to express my inner ferocity, but let's explore it further, shall we? It doesn't matter if it rhymes or not. And you know what? On this occasion, I'm not even gonna bother. It's not about the rhythm, the measure, or the aesthetics of it. That is of secondary importance. I believe that most importantly, it's about something completely different. The writing of a poem is a blank canvas that doesn't judge. It's reflection, a place where you can express your innermost self, the one you don't ever want to deal with. It's therapy, it's self-discovery, a way to let out the anxiety, the ugly, the hate, the love, and everything else that boils. It's coping, nurturing, evolving. It's understanding. Not the world around you, but the world that's inside of you. Care less about how pretty it is or how it's perceived. It doesn't matter. If anyone likes it, good. If everybody hates it, good. If you are fortunate enough to impact one single wandering soul, perfect. Disregard anything else, and don't fear judgment. Judgment is not for humans to enact. Create. What are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? The 1 billion man. If you live to the age of 70, your heart would beat around 2 billion times. A stretch of life that should be filled with ecstasy, but we are naive and can't read between the lines. That's a number we think we understand, but in truth, we can barely comprehend. Our grasp of it might serve as a remedy, antidote to our numbness, light to our blindness. 2 billion fleeting moments, and although they should be ample, they are vicious opponents. I've barely tasted a little sample. 2 billion. It seems like a ton, but my first one is almost true. I'm nearly halfway done, and there's still so much yet to do. It all passed like the beat of a drum. Maybe the first half was more about learning and not so much about meeting my heart's yearning. But what about the second that is yet to come? I can barely recall glimpses of my lifespan. It almost feels like all of it has just begun. I suppose that starting from now on, I'm just the 1 billion man. Never doubt that a very big component of our well-being lies in how we choose to perceive the situations in our lives. We possess an innate power to change bad into good in an instant, and if our perspective is mature and healthy enough, we can make the most of every circumstance we find ourselves in. Stillness. Don't worry. There will come a time when you'll earn calmness. A time when stillness settles in. Heartache, suffering, agony, misery, despair. You've felt these sentiments before. They're nothing new. Nothing unseen. You were molded by these possessions once. They cannot truly hurt anymore. Nothing can really touch you anymore. Does that make you heartless? No. You still feel them. They still matter. You're not indifferent, but you are serene, pastoral, and at peace. Allow them to envelop your whole being, and when the time comes, observe them silently. Once they've finished circulating through your veins, dismiss them into the eternal nothingness, into the perpetual everything, back to where they have originated from. As I am writing this, I will be 30 in 2 months. Truly a moment of divine celebration is upon me. Wish me luck, my dear listener. As I'm reading this, however, I am already 30. It's going pretty fine so far, I think. 29. Today, I've officially completed my 29th journey around the sun. And I can't help but wonder if I'll get to do another one. Perhaps I will. But even if I won't, I'm content with life's gentle rhythm and all that my Odyssey's manuscript has written. I shall gladly return my flesh to the earth and my spirit to the stars for a chance to begin another journey, but this time, my final one. For now, however, my heart is at peace. I'll take it as it comes, and when my pilgrimage ends, I will eagerly venture back into the abyss. The words you choose to enamor your surroundings with are precious. Don't waste them away on ears that are not eager to listen. Vibration. Don't waste your words away. The vibration of your voice is a gift that has no choice but to resonate and ignite the outer world's unending night. Each stroke of sound is precious, a mysterious and captivating preface of the story that is you, unveiled to minds it never knew. Let your words enamor with serenity, embrace another with light and poetry. Let them resonate and intrigue, an echo that calls for dreamers to seek. I believe everything happens for a reason. Cliché, right? Well, I absolutely love a good cliché, because it's usually rooted in fundamental truths that we need to seek the answers for ourselves. Paradox. We are everything, and yet we are nothing. Isn't that an interesting paradox? An infinitely vast universe, trapped inside a confined box. Little sparks of stardust, born from the nucleus of time, with hearts that beat in a divine chime, now rapidly filling up with rust. We are pieces of a puzzle no human mind will ever fully comprehend. But we can begin to understand the small piece that is ourselves and blossom into what is possible. And then we witness the passing of the seasons until there are seasons no more for us to admire, and we gently wither away back home. That is all that we have to do. Or so I do believe, but belief is all I've got. In this ever-changing manuscript of life, we are drops of running ink that will dry and be replaced by fresher ink, that will dry and be replaced by fresher ink. And yet, I will be forever impregnated on this white, unexplored canvas. I am everything. I am nothing. Ashes. What must I do? What formula will tame this wild heart? I don't know what to do. Why isn't it enough? My heart is burning, always, without exception. An eternal flame, scorching away every remnant of myself. My heart is burning. My mind is suffering. My soul is wandering. My body is trembling. Just send me a sign. Anything. A little glimmer of hope. A little gasp of air. A little glimpse of heaven. A guide written in the ashes. I love this quote from the poem Trees by Joyce Kilmer. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. Should I just recite the whole poem? This is very spontaneous. It's not part of my book. You know what? I don't think it will hurt anybody. So, this is Trees by Joyce Kilmer. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. I recommend reading it under a tree atop a Transylvanian cliff on a warm day in June. We are poetry. Is poetry dead? Poetry can never be dead, because we are poetry. It lives within all of us, dormant, waiting for the perfect moment to awaken. It happens when we seek answers to questions that seemingly don't have one. When love or grief overwhelms us, something inside of us awakens, a force that lifts us from the physical world into the spiritual, into the world within. That's where poetry springs from. It's the liquor of life for a tired soul on the verge of giving up. It is love and hatred, light and darkness, life and death, a path to the deepest caverns hidden in your soul. Poetry can never be dead, because we are poetry. One of the main struggles I faced in this life was finding the path that I truly needed to embark upon, but was hidden behind the veils of fate, a path I've searched for my entire life. I believe it's a universal challenge that all of us go through, though not all of us complete. Regardless of who you are, the muddy, solitary roads that seem to always lead into dark corners of the forest are merely tests of your endurance, guiding you toward the true path you must follow, toward your own emancipation, toward your destiny. If you're ever unsure, even for a minute, if your current course is the right one, then it is probably not, and you still need to search, my fellow seeker. Purpose. Nothing is guaranteed in this life. There is power in believing and fantasizing about your yearnings, but life is complicated, volatile, and often a coffin where dreams are buried. Sometimes, the smallest circumstances can make or break you. However, I think it is a duty to yourself, to those who came before you, and to your impossible existence to try. To give that thing you love and that you aspire to, whatever it may be, everything you absolutely have, until you have nothing more to give. Only then can you be at peace. For what you love and aspire to is the embodiment of your meaning in this life, and meaning is the highest form of divine mission. We can never be certain if our mission in life is larger than ourselves, but what I know to be true is that our worldly purpose is not given to us directly by something greater. We ultimately have to find it ourselves. When you make the choice to embark on this journey, you have to go all the way. Regardless of the outcome, you can die with a clear conscience and a smile on your face, knowing that you followed the path you loved and bestowed upon yourself. My tears come in the form of somber melancholy. Tears of remembrance. It's a fundamental lesson to remember that even though there were times when you embarrassed yourself, times when you were completely in the wrong, moments that pushed you beyond the edge and made you crawl back from the depths of despair, moments when you put on a joyful facade, but your soul cried tears of remembrance, seasons of enduring silence, flashes of a past that might seem irredeemable, excerpts from the afterlife. You need to be mindful that all of it was meant to be. You will soon realize that all of it was destined for a bigger purpose. The purpose of becoming you. In a world filled with critics and cynics, be the gentle exception, my dear listener. Trust me, a nurturing spirit is far more needed, valuable, and all too often absent. Be gentle. Consider being gentle with the people around you. Gentleness brings back gentleness, and kindness does too. There is enough harshness in the world, and the torrents of critics in sight, a relentless loss of humanity that blocks our vision of life's bright, radiant light. Beauty needs to surface more often, and the madness of malice should fade away inside an abandoned coffin. Your endless, intrinsic, nurturing spirit needs a place outside of your heart, so it can light up the universe with a warmth it dares to impart. Angel or demon, You're an unsolved mystery, and will probably forever remain as such. To me, you are both fire and ice, angel and demon, judge and executioner. You are a meteorite that has shattered parts of me that will forever be extinct. By nature, I am serene, but around you, demon, I become a turbulent wind, a jester in your court. Your mere presence twists my mind into unbearable worthlessness. You stole my voice, my thoughts. You raptured my confidence. You're a relentless audience, and I, a stage actor who forgot his lines and looked like a stumbling fool. I was a carpenter without tools, a dog without a master. I was utterly bewildered. Never before or since have I experienced such oddity. Was it a spell, or raw chemistry manifesting chaotically within me? Or perhaps it was self-imposed torment. Yet you, angel, I want to believe are a remedy for some obscure emotional illness, or a source of twisted inspiration sent to me from somewhere else. A wild storm gives me an unsettling sensation of peace. The day you forgive yourself for your past is the day the journey to reclaim your place in this world begins. Learn to accept your ghosts, embrace them fully, and nothing will ever be able to hurt you again. Practice. Practice kindness. Practice it with yourself. And then showcase it to the world. For the heart that needs your love and understanding most resides within you. Practice forgiveness. Practice it with yourself. And then extend it to those who wronged you. The hatred you hold towards yourself or toward any broken soul who didn't know any better will only create a vicious cycle of hatred. Forgive. But don't forget. Practice healing. Practice it with yourself, and then heal the world around you. Do not become a stagnant lake, polluted by the past. You can't heal in the same environment where you got sick. You need to keep moving forward, like a river flowing toward an ocean so clean and vast, it would even make the eternal blue sky jealous. Inevitable. I know this may sound metaphorical and perhaps a bit cliché, but hear me out, because I love a good cliché. Every choice you make inevitably sets you on the path toward the destination you are meant to reach. Because once you decide, you've already been embarked on the path you are meant to follow. That may not always be comforting, but it should be. Be mindful of it, for each decision you make is directly linked to the one before. You cannot change it, for time flows in only one direction. Your only choice is to go along with the current. Whether this river carries you through polluted cities or pristine alpine landscapes, you will arrive in the same ocean of time that you are inevitably meant to reach. In the end, control over fate is not ours to hold. So simply observe and try to enjoy your surroundings, whatever they may be. Yesterday's history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it present. This was a quote from the movie Kung Fu Panda, and it was not something I expected to do when I started putting this book together. But there you go, my dear listener. Beauty can arise from any artistic medium, and animated movies are among my favorites. Resurrection. You will die tonight, but tomorrow you will be reborn. Today becomes nothing more than ash, swept away by the restless wind of time. Tomorrow, wake and live as you should, as if no past digs its icy claws into your gentle soul, holding you back with impunity. Each day, before the manuscript is burned, read it thoroughly and reflect, but do not inscribe it in permanent ink upon the parchment of your soul. You have lived in the shadow of your becoming, and yet it lies just beyond the veil of your perception. Moving forward from the previous idea of accepting one's fate, it is enlightening, however, to reflect on our decisions mindfully and consider what we could have done differently, so that our future choices better reflect what we truly want and value. This poem is exactly that, a younger version of myself, imagining what he would have done differently if given the opportunity. Time. I'm not that old, but it's hard not to think of the years that have unassumingly fleeted by, like the silent sound of a loose string. If I could roll back the clock, I would stop seeking social acceptance. Considering others' opinions is wise, but no one knows what truly resides within you. Taking them to heart is but an insult to all your yesterdays. I would own every single mistake I made, because endless justifications for your actions are nothing but harmful lies that cloud your perception of life. I would be unburdened by the fear of pursuing what I must, because fear is the mind killer, a barrier holding you back from entering the portal to your own emancipation. I would learn how to love myself through discipline and compassion, and as a consequence, I would know how to love everybody else, because love for oneself and for the world around is the ultimate bringer of peace. Above all, I would have unwavering confidence in myself, even to the point of defying common sense and reason. Self-worth and self-belief are akin to manifesting your becoming into what you are destined to be. There's still time. Soulmates by Claudia Damian. A real dream has flowers and hearts, a consistency, a specific energy, and a very clear place. You can breathe it without fear. You come from a big dream. It's an intuition beyond my eyes. It's a subtle feeling beyond my skin. The soulmates know each other as water knows its course. The soulmates. A mirror. I take a nocturnal walk to find your presence. I see you in every particle of the light. I see you even in the cold white mist. You are here. You are here. You are not a dream anymore. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Haiku. An amber decay lingers at dawn, blazing a golden trail for the frozen wolf, veiled in death's armor. Peace can be admiring a beautiful isolated village from a high point while resting from a long motorcycle ride. Peace is wisdom. There's an unbroken chain of nonsense covering the light of our daily existence. Such burdensome, hollow, superficial nothingness that any sane person would simply laugh at and dismiss. But this world is far from being sane, and we have been contaminated by it, or rather by its social fabric. I spent the last few days alienating my usual daily dose of intrusive mental forgeries out of my life. I listened to music, did a bit of writing, studied some scripts, and exercised a little. Not much else. My mind was calm, unyielding to the apprehensive grasp of the collective unrest. Peace is wisdom, and wisdom is rare. part of a letter. You could abandon me 100 times, and I would still love you. I've realized recently that it's very hard for me to love, but once I do, I cannot stop. You could lash me, throw stones at me, leave me crippled, bring me to death's door, and I would still love you. I'm sorry I couldn't be the man you dreamed of, the one you idealized, the one you fell in love with. Oh, how sorry I am. Even on my deathbed, I will regret it still. I will suffer for losing you, for a part of my soul will remain captive in your chest. I will be incomplete. Yet, it's all right. I accept that. These feelings are so new to me, so devastating and painful, but I don't regret experiencing them. I'm sorry I lacked the strength to be that boy, that man you wanted. I'm sorry you didn't meet me a little later when maybe I could have been. But I offer you one promise. I will do everything in my power to become the person you longed for. I promise I will be that person, and I will be happy knowing you will be proud of me. I'm sorry you won't stand beside me, and that I won't be that person for you. I want you to remember me with warmth in your heart. I want to learn how to love fully. I want to love with infernal passion. I want to love so fiercely that no one could ever love someone the way I could. I want to give everything. I want to lay my soul on a plate so it can be cut and consumed. I want never to disappoint anyone the way I disappointed you. Never. Never. I'll try to draw this to a close. I'm tired. There are no words to describe how much I loved you. In my imperfect, unideal way, I loved you more than anything else in this world, as the bee loves the jasmine, and the jasmine loves the sun. So did I love you. Today is always the day you will be at your youngest, and even though your body may wither with time, always keep your heart radiant and joyful. There is no better medicine than that. Ageless. Do you know the only thing you truly need to do? Listen to your heart, flow with your instincts, and use your mind less. Strange advice, I know, but I'm serious. Listen for the frequencies that your soul trembles to, and flow in that direction. Never look back. Your age is inconsequential. The tide of time cannot be turned, and today is the youngest you will ever be. Always remember that. The Darwin bark spider. Do you know what I hate most? People who've been in your life for what it feels like a lifetime, who contributed to your becoming, to your making as a human being, and spent endless time with you, laughed and cried and got drunk with you, did stupid things with you, and then, all of a sudden, they're gone. Poof. Just like that. How fragile are we? How frail and small. Our connection resembles a spider's thread, thin, ready to be torn apart by the slightest change in the atmosphere. Well, the seas aren't always calm, and sometimes this thread can be stretched out, but it should never break. Not even when you die. The strongest spider silk in the world comes from a species in Madagascar called the Darwin bark spider. Its silk is 10 times stronger than Kevlar. That's how the silk of human relationships can be, as strong as that spider's web. But oftentimes, it's as weak as a strand from a common kitchen spider. And unfortunately, that's the one we most often find. Blossoming. The world unravels before your attention, and yet your mind lies in a frozen shell. Your inner child screams of redemption, but your dreams fade into a gray pastel. You've lost your heart, but are eager to find it, vanished for eons in a bottomless pit, resting in darkness, painfully waiting, unaware of the beautiful bloom it's creating. However, once the cold has passed and the rain has dried, your soul will rejoice and your fear shall die. And soon enough you will realize that all the dirt that covered your eyes was but a hollow illusion, emboldened by lies. I've always been afraid to speak my mind and do what I truly feel, because of an almost innate fear of judgment and criticism, which, of course, stems from my own insecurities and perceived inadequacies. I doubted that what I have to offer is valuable, trapped in a prison of my own creation. Sometimes I joke that I need a dose of narcissism to boost my confidence, but for those who can relate, our only solution is to act anyway and face our inner monologue as it comes. Mindset doesn't always shift by reflection alone. We need to act on the things we fear and say the words we hesitate over. Over time, it becomes easier. You gain confidence from each little victory. Start with the smallest things. When someone cuts in front of you and you'd normally stay silent, speak up. Do it. Act. Only then can you move toward a clearer horizon and escape the stagnant pond of self-doubt. Learning to speak your mind and follow what you know is right, despite your inhibitions, will grant you the freedom to pursue your own path, no matter the obstacles thrown your way. Find your voice. Find your own voice, the same one that only surfaces when embraced by the warm grasp of solitude, undisturbed by the turbulent waves of judgment that constantly invade your inner refuge. Speak, feel, do, and live as if you are the only person walking the surface of the earth, because in many ways, you are. You are born alone, and only the embrace of stillness will accompany you on your journey back home. The only solitary soul to whom you own any accountability is your own. Only when you live true to that fact can your purest, most authentic self rise through this polluted river of condemnation in which we all bathe excessively. Unburden yourself from the illusion that anyone actually cares. No one truly does. Their judgment is merely a shallow reflection of their own vulnerabilities, which will fade the moment their eyes find something new to judge. Be free, because freedom is a lifestyle. Softness Strengthens by Aina Osman. I saw you yesterday. You passed like a stranger, as if the months we lived in memory were just a flicker. But I felt it all. The sting, the silence, the weight of what was left unsaid. I always made space for the almost, for the maybe, for the way you showed up, just enough to keep me wondering. Never enough to stay. You sent flowers. You wrote words that lit a spark. While you gave her your time, your presence, your consistency, you gave me just enough hope to hold on. That was the deception. I didn't walk away because I stopped caring. I walked because finally I started caring for myself. You said I was too intelligent, too complicated, as if depth were a curse and not a crown. Yes, I miss you. Not a version who left me hanging, but a friend. The laughter, the ease, the person you used to be before the masks and the sidestepping. But no, I don't want this version of you back. I want peace. I want light. I want to be able to look back without feeling like I betrayed myself by staying. Let it be known, I wasn't needy, I was brave. I wasn't looking for validation, just closure. I spoke from love, with honesty and care, so my heart could finally breathe. And now, my silence will speak for me. Not out of coldness, but clarity. I walked away, not in bitterness, but in grace. Not because I stopped caring, but because I finally remembered how to choose me. For the past few months, I didn't really feel like writing anything new. But sometimes you just put your headphones on, listen to a song, and something comes up. A poem with no name. Then she came back, planted her feet right in front of me, stared me in my eyes with her fierce gaze, resembling that of an elegant creature of prey. And after a brief moment of respite, she asked me with defiance, "What are you?" Entranced, but somehow still coherent, I answered softly, "I am the infinite night. But before you, I am a bright and gentle summer solstice. I am the freezing death of nebulas unheard of. but laid before the gallant warmth of your delicate feet, I am a melting puddle of memories forgotten and of hope renewed. I am a world-devouring fading star, but when faced with the blessing of your gaze, I am just a small forgotten crater of a lost and ancient comet, of which location you hold secret. I am a fading echo of what was once the flesh of Gaia, and yet before you, I am born again in the tapestry of your creation, molded into being by the grace of your imagination. The night was warm, the waves were gentle, your embrace was everything, the moon was witnessing, and my love was complete. Nocturne. On that evening, the Black Sea lay timid, and a blood-stained moon impregnated the night sky. Its majestic presence captivated the gazing eyes of many naive and yet courageous souls glancing towards it with daring ignorance. But for me, the moon was purple, because I only saw its reflection through the Arctic in your eyes, that were infinitely more imposing, and its craters filled with love. I wouldn't dare compare you to it, however. You are both untouchable celestial miracles, but you come from much further away, from a place that has no name, and that is not burdened by time. You are eternal. You will always be loved, and memories of you and of that night will always be stained on the surface of the moon. Yours forever. Of course, my dear reader, we all have our grieving processes, and sometimes forgetting or distancing ourselves for a while is perfectly understandable. You may find yourself regretting certain decisions, but never forget that every choice you made was the best one for you at that moment in time. So respect your past self and what they were going through, and treat yourself with warmth instead of harshness and too much regret. Triggers. I scrolled back through my old messages and saw versions of myself I never want back. Yet the triggers of the past are a looming danger, unrelenting in the corners of my mind, bringing back memories of love and complete devastation. I can't take it anymore. I need to move forward. I've deleted all our past conversations. Why on earth did I do something so incredibly stupid? I crave your scent. I'm afraid of forgetting the pain you gifted me, my love. Afraid of losing the soft, creamy aroma of your scent and the divine embrace that healed the very fabric of who I am. You molded me into a better man, one who owes you centuries of love for every minute graced by your essence. You put me through so much pain. But God, how I wish you could gift me that pain again, because even its memory is starting to fade away. I'm beginning to grow numb to it, indifferent, and that frightens me to my very core. I promise to always love you, no matter what became of our bond. But how can I, if I can no longer recall the gentle rhythm of your voice, or the delicate sweetness of your breast? How can I preserve that fire when the memories of our first night together began to wither like falling petals in the autumn of our merging? I fear I will have to remember you for far longer than I ever truly knew you. You are my painting. I painted you a poem that today I'll bring to light. I've sworn to shed all fear and let my courage take flight. If someday you behold it with those eyes of ocean blue, my soul will rise in wonder like a bird reborn anew. I lost you once again. The blood-stained moon reminds me of the light I once had known. My mind is still disturbed by the echo of your tone. Your voice's lasting vibration sinks me deep below into a tomb of eternal silence, buried under heavy snow. Oppressed, conquered, infinite. I would look for you, but I have nothing left to offer. Yet you, a fierce and complementary force, once gifted me eternity. You metamorphosized my shattered reality. And now, I lay my brush to rest. I'll enshrine your painting atop the silent refuge of my bookshelf, in the hope I won't forget. Unfulfilled destiny. Is there a word for unfulfilled destiny? Like the joining of two souls, undeniably destined to become whole, yet somehow never did. Do you know the greatest tragedy, my dear listener? That many people are in love but not together, and many are together but not in love, and you can't help but wonder if you ended up where you truly should. Right person at the wrong time, they say. I used to believe that we were destined, but for an unknown reason, it just didn't happen as I thought it should. An unfulfilled destiny. Is there anything worse? But I've learned that it was nothing more than a lie to appease my fragile self. If they truly were the right person, they would have resonated with your heart, even in those cold moments when they pulled away, deeming you to believe that if the time was better, they would have loved you more. And if they'd met you at this almost perfect surreal moment in time, the collapse would have been inevitably all the same, because these moments don't last forever. So yes, they were the right person for the time they were meant to be in your life. And if they truly are the one by fate, they will someday return. So don't despair, my dear reader. Let love's natural selection run its course. Perhaps you could provide me with an answer to the following, my dear listener. Pondering love. It's one of life's great questions, isn't it? Whether there can be love between people with absolutely no expectations, or are we simply designed to seek something from one another? From one perspective, we all have personal needs, validation, affection, comfort. But is there really such a thing as pure love? One that asks nothing, requires nothing, and doesn't pause in moments of intense grievance? I'm not entirely sure yet, although I want to believe such a mythological sentiment does exist. I understand that love requires compromise, but how beautiful it would be to love and be loved simply for love's sake, being cherished exactly for who you are. It may sound selfish to some, but to me it feels like the natural flow of the conjunction of pure souls, being accepted for your very essence, with all our tragedies carrying no weight on the scales of devotion. Tell me every terrible thing you ever did, and let me love you anyway, a famous poet once said. I dream of that every waking moment, to be loved for who I am, and to love you for exactly who and what you are, regardless of all your lurking demons. What meaning? We were not meant for this. We were not meant for staring at screens and sitting at desks. We were not meant to be deprived of sunlight and the magnificent infinity of the night sky. We were not meant to sit in desk chairs for half of our lives, when the powerful call to adventure is written into our innermost core, boiling inside of our guts with such an intense ferocity, attempting to wake up because we are so detached from it, urging us to embark on the journey of our lifetime, the path toward understanding what we're made of, where we come from, and what our final stop will be. The hero's journey, the quest toward the abyss, and the inevitable transformation that shall remodel us into the human we were meant to become, living a life that is actually worth living. Embark on the journey of your life, my dear listener, and reach the dimensions you are truly meant to reach. Have a life that really is worth living, because for you, this is it. Really ponder that and make the necessary choice. This is the century of comfort and luxury, the century of information and so-called intelligence. What intelligence? All the data in the world, and most of us know nothing but how to destroy our own souls and mindlessly throw away this precious gift, wasting away like tears in the rain. Huh. a complete disconnection and ignorance of what truly matters. A soulless, emotionless, unwise intelligence is no intelligence at all. And the last 100 years of our history are the best example of the horrors of such a state of being. Obsidian Peace. The settled Bordeaux awaits behind its glass walls, while cigarette fragments lie tense, slumbering in their dark sarcophagus. The gentle undulation of smoke caresses my fractured visage, while the gleam of the Chinese lamp scratches at my faded retina. That tormenting hour of evening unveils its harsh severity, and her Trojan presence once more overwhelms my wave-battered mind, thoughts collapsing into an effervescent singularity. The intrusive guest ignites my nocturnal solitude, shattering my obsidian peace. What am I to do with you? I await the smothering crush of daylight. I wish you'd linger here, in a dance untouched by the crimson dawn. But you, ephemeral bright spirit, will soon reclaim your early destined end and be forgotten, gifting me again that same obsidian peace. Loss is woven into the natural order of this universe, and I could never summon a defined resistance, so I'll find solace in the beauty of a single verse. A wise soul knows he can only master his own nature, just as a river guides its eternal course toward the vastness of the sea, unfeathered, unbroken. But who says I am wise? Still, I await our final dance. I await for you. I await for you with a wounded heart, weighed down, burdened by the heavy grasp of solitude. I've become a recluse, comfortable being a small, unnoticeable star in an infinite constellation of other lost souls, undeserving of attention, unworthy of love, veiled by my own mystery, my own sorrow, afraid I can't love anymore, terrified of letting anyone down. I've grown used to my own quiet remorse. But because of you, beloved, I finally have the strength to reject it, the strength to seek beauty again. Your gentle voice. For so long I could only hear it through cold, inhumane means. No more. I await for you as the lily awaits spring, so its heart can come back to life by the grace and warmth of life itself. I await for you, because after years of hollow cold, my mind is healing, my soul is blossoming, and my spirit is erupting by the mercy of your approval. I await for you, because my numbness has started to fade, warmed by the quiet flame rising slowly from within the tyranny of seasons past. You've become a light, gleaming in the distance, moving through oceans of time to reach me. And you chose to do it because it is in your nature. It's in the nature of light to travel immeasurable distances, to illuminate the path of lost and wandering souls. Please, light my path and come to me already. I will embrace you with the shattered pieces of who I am, and I'll let you radiate me with your overwhelming light. In return, I'll be your shelter, your truth. I'll keep you close within the broken fragments of my soul, safe there, until my pieces are restored, and will keep you my prisoner eternal. I await for you, my love, because it's time to try again. I await for you to gift me the nectar of love that will help me cultivate my own. Ephemeral Hearts by Kati Burkhardt. We met beneath the dawn in the early morning, where dulcet winds gave gentle warning. The world was still, the sky turned gold, a tale of soulmates brief and bold. Your eyes held depths so crystalline, like frozen stars in winter's shrine. We spoke in silence, breath to breath, to kindred souls defying death. The luminous stars filled the night sky, as if the heavens heard our cry. They cast a magical glow so bright over the sleeping earth that night. I watched you smile, effervescent, each laugh a spell, pure and incandescent. You seemed ethereal, not quite real, a phantom heart I die to feel. But fate is cruel, her hands too tight. She gave us wrong instead of right, and though we burned with love's sweet flame, we left without a name to name. You're the natural electrical phenomenon, a fleeting light, then simply gone, like auroras near each polar line, too rare, too wild, too misaligned. Still, I cherish all you were to me, a secret kept where none can see. Our time was ephemeral, lost in mist, a dream the stars themselves once kissed. You came to enchant, then disappeared, a song the moon alone can hear. And though I walk this path alone, your soul still echoes in my own. I'm afraid people only fall in love with the idea of me, and not my true self. Would I? The Sacred Vessel. Recently, I was spending time watching the clear night sky on a mountaintop. The stars were more present than I'd ever seen them. I think on that quiet night, where only the howling of the forest could be heard, they finally chose to reveal themselves to me. They probably knew I needed them, to remember things that were only written inside my blood. My perception and my instincts were never more alive, enchanted by nature, because for the first time I truly felt connected to it, connected to the sacred vessel. I felt like I returned back home. I had a spiritual feeling of belonging like never before. I kept gazing, uninterrupted, with the attention and curiosity of a small boy, seeking, always seeking, and never finding. But on that evening, everything changed. These are my mountains, and I belong to them, I said. This is my land, and I am this land. Everything inside me made me believe that, but not in a possessive way, but rather in the same way a child would feel about their mother. We both won, my love. Are you better off without me, I wonder? I hope you are, with all my heart. Otherwise, everything would be unbearable. Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean one of us lost. I think we both won. A lifetime of memories at the very least. How to mold ourselves into more beautiful shapes, how to love better, how to appreciate when love unfolds upon you, how not to take anything for granted and rejoice each time you have the privilege of gazing into another pair of eyes, separated only by a nose and nothing else. I learned so much. It's sad it didn't happen earlier, when you were still in touching distance, my beloved. But wisdom is not something I possess. Quite the opposite. I'm a stumbling fool. I was a fool for you. I hope you managed to learn something from me as well. Sometimes I'm afraid you didn't, and I'm just a passing memory in the splendor of your footsteps, a little forgettable chapter in your novel. Oh, if you only knew what I saw in you. If I could have been a better man when you deserved it. But you know what? I believe that I taught you how to laugh and appreciate the little things. That gives me comfort. Slave. I wonder what it would feel like being free from your all-consuming grasp. I am not a worthless monster. Never was, despite what you've made me believe. I am worth something. I am a slave, intoxicated by a passion of my own doing, not one that emanated from your gracious scent. Whipped, slashed, cut, stabbed, and left for dead by your indifference. Left rotting alive in a sarcophagus of flesh, eaten by vermin, kissed by rage, cuddled by death. I wanted to write you a poem, but you don't deserve it. Fracture. You might say, I love you. Or you might just say, I lost my sanity because of you. You fracture my reality, and made me believe in a higher power, a greater truth. Because, my love, you are brought to me by no mere coincidence. You have made it into my arms because I was made to die in yours. But now, I am left stranded on this deserted island, with no purpose left to serve. Most of you might not know this, but I'm also an actor. I started out as a voice actor, and over the past few years, it has become an integral part of my livelihood. However, I'm still quite early in this journey and haven't yet had the opportunity to work as a classical actor, which is what I'd love to do most. As you might already know, this is a highly competitive field, and very few actors are fortunate enough to perform regularly and make a living exploring their craft. One almost necessary requirement for making connections and finding opportunities in this industry is working with an agent, ideally an established one. I've sent countless emails trying to grab someone's attention, but being the person I am, I did so in the manner you'll see attached on the next page. Needless to say, my tactic did not prove successful, but I won't give up that easily. Legend has it, I'm already drafting a full-length ballad for my next attempt. Dear Sir or Madam, I really hope that you're doing fine, and that these lines find you at a rather convenient time. I'm an actor and a poet, currently seeking a change in representation, so I truly hope my shenanigans won't blow it. I wish that in this arduous, repetitive process, a warm smile on your face this poem might just bring, instead of a harsh, emotional abscess that compels you never to give me back a ring. I don't know how appropriate this might be, but it's very much in tune with my personality. Therefore, I shall listen to my heart and lament in anguish if this approach turns out not to have been all that smart. I'll be brief and attach some relevant details, alongside a few heartfelt closing personal thoughts, ones that might fill in some of the more interesting missing dots, to offer a clearer picture of my previous tales. Confession. I'm terribly inept at many of the things I choose to do, but acting is where I haven't bitten off more than I can chew. It is certain that beauty can arise with the right person by my side. I look forward to the opportunity of discussing how we might coincide. The innocent laughter of a child. How pure and beautiful, and how devastating that we almost inevitably lose it. I went through a lot of old photos while working on this book, and came across many of them with the little version of me. And I started to remember. Not so much specific memories, although I have some, and it's interesting how we tend to recall the negative ones way more, a testament to how deeply they impact a child's life. But rather sensations and feelings so powerful, I can still remember their taste. I've noticed how I began losing my smile and my laughter as the years went by, even to the point of being ashamed of it, and I became so incredibly sad and lost. I want to make that little kid proud. I want to honor his smile and make him proud of the person I eventually became. That's my mission, to be happy for him. because he truly deserves it. At the end of the day, aren't we all just kids, unfortunate enough to grow old bodies? I am finally free of you. Rejoice. Rupture. My heart was ruptured 100 times by other hearts that couldn't resonate with mine. I probably shattered a few as well, but every time without realizing it. I was so enthralled in my own self, in my own grief, that I couldn't realize the damage I caused around me. Blinded by my own self-pity, I thought I was fighting a losing battle since early on, and that I was already done, my heart irremediably torn. I thought love and the ability to love has evaded me. To admit how wrong and foolish I was, because not only did I not lose anything, I won. The moment I was born, I won the greatest lottery that can ever be won. The privilege of being here is ineffable, is beyond the gift, beyond winning, beyond anything I can comprehend. I was loved. Now that I reflect back, I truly know that. I know. And I realize how stupid I was to deny their love and cause a mountain of hurt in the process because of my own folly. I will always regret that. I am sorry for my foolishness. I am sorry for my ignorance. I will be better. I promise. I will love, and I will let myself be loved. What would you trade for a real chance at love? An arm, an eye, or leg, or perhaps nothing at all. For what is love but unnecessary pain, dragging itself harshly like a snail through rain? It is rough, but it is also the greatest miracle that is bestowed upon our confusing lives, imperfect as it is. What wouldn't I give for a real chance at love? My life, just to begin with. My Castle by Jeannie Musgrave. The butterfly's wings whisper a gentle truth. A house on a hill, painted orange, dressed in trees. A creator's paradise, where imagination knows no bounds. A space to breathe, to live, to laugh, and spin around. A place to call home, where loved ones gather near, where children's laughter echoes, and music fills the air. The walls within resonate with joy, belonging, and song, a symphony of love that echoes all day long. The end of a letter. I believe I had more to say, but I shall stop here. I don't mean to suggest that you would still want us to be together. You probably don't, but I've come to the devastating realization that there is no way back anymore. We would just go through the same exact cycle we've already been through, and that's no longer possible. I believe our story has been told. Maybe in years and years it might resume. Who knows? Maybe I really am your person. I hope, though, that I'm wrong. I hope I'm not, because it would be too painful to realize this in 10 or 15 years. How could I live with myself, knowing all the time we have wasted? In any case, what follows for me will probably be a season of absolute indifference. Or perhaps indifference isn't the right word. More like detachment from everything that love entails. Damn it. Please forgive me for this letter. I know it wasn't easy to read, but I promise nothing has changed since our last meeting. Everything I said then still holds true. You will always be mine. I will always think of you, and I will always regret you. I can't wait to see you again. Maybe on a bench in the park or in some random cafe. I'm sure we will meet again someday. I love you always. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, for as long as I live, and beyond. Forever yours, Paul. Letter to the Unseen. Sometimes I wonder while staring at the bleakness of my walls if happiness has eluded me, if every single molecule of my composition was made for something else. My mind is always uneasy, and the memories of what was are a constant source of sorrow. The worries, the stress, and the fear of not fulfilling my purpose in this life. The fear of a forgetful existence. The fear of an anguished heart on its deathbed, pumping what will be its final dose of life before extinguishing forever, without really knowing if anything was worthwhile. I admit to you that all these feelings are ever present. I admit to you that I am scared. I admit to you that sometimes it's hard to live with myself. I hope you're not ashamed of me, because I know that the gift you have blessed me with is greater than anything my feeble mind can comprehend. And perhaps because it is so hard to grasp, my appreciation of it is not what it is supposed to be. But I do promise you that as the years go by, even though my understanding might be lacking still, slowly and gently, I realize, and more importantly, I internalize the majesty of what this life is. I hope my awakening will come in time for my redemption to be complete by the time we meet. Forgive me. A promise for the future. No resentment towards you and no resentment towards me. The end of this chapter symbolizes a new beginning. I forgive you, and I forgive myself, truly this time around. I regret I have not been worthy. I have struggled. I've let myself down countless times, but I forgive myself. I will keep my chin up and my eyes gazing towards the horizon, because the horizon is beautiful. I know it. Battle-torn and weak, but filled with renewed hope and a blazing fire inside of my heart. These scars are nothing compared to the emerging beam of light glaring from inside of my soul. I shall finally embark on the adventure of my life. I hope everything was not in vain. I hope that it happened for a greater reason. I hope my path to redemption has been completed, and I shall only keep my eyes towards the boundless future. I forgive myself. Free at last. Before we turn the last page, thank you, my dear listener, for being here and allowing my words to touch you, in whatever way they might have. If any of the little pieces of my soul I left scattered along the trail that was this book managed to reach yours, then this has been a resounding success. I believe that learning from one another, understanding each other's struggles, and bringing even a little light into each other's lives, in whatever way we can, is how we show the best of us, the best we have to offer. At the end of the day, all of us are in this mystery of a life together, and connecting our souls through poetry is nothing short of divine intervention. With love and gratitude forever, Paul, Damian. End of the road. For now.